A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Techgig webinar series. Today's session is on how to create a responsive website, and our guest speaker is Mr. Love Chopra. He is the co-founder and CTO at meracareerguide.com. Mr. Chopra is an entrepreneur and a creative technologist. He holds extensive experience around internet application, coding and architecture, product strategy and development, organic user growth, community development, and product design methods. During today's session, Mr. Chopra would be taking us through a very brief presentation followed by a live demonstration. During the last 15 minutes of his presentation, we will open up the session for a quick Q&A. Request all the attendees to start sending in questions from 3:30 p.m. onwards. In case if there is any problem in between in terms of connection or any audio related problem, request all the attendees to please let the moderator know about that. So without any further delay, I now hand over the session to Mr. Chopra. Mr. Chopra, I am now giving you the presenters right.
Sure. Hi friends, I'm Love Chopra and I want to welcome you all to today's webinar on responsive design. Friends, as you know, over the last few years, we have seen a fundamental shift in how people consume online content. You know, the rise of smartphones, tablets, and other connected devices means that designing your site for a fixed screen size is no longer a best practice these days. So with that in mind, I have designed this webinar to introduce you to basic concepts, terminologies, strategies, and will also give you a practical demonstration on how you can build your own responsive website. And in this webinar, first we will start by exploring some of the basic concepts of responsive design, like what it is and why it's important and how a typical responsive sites behave. And next we will tackle some of the common concepts and techniques of responsive design, such as mobile viewport and working with media queries and fluid grid and how to improve site performance for responsive sites. After that, we will discuss different strategies that can help you guide your approach to responsive design, and will give you a better idea of the issues that you will face as you adopt the responsive design workflow. So, all right, friends. So, with that in mind, let's dig a little deeper into responsive design. So, friends, before going further, first to the basic concept and other terminologies, first I want to start by showing the final project of what we are going to be creating. We are going to be creating design. Let me open that design up. Yeah, here is the design. So basically we are going to be building this design that we see here in the background, and I want to point out some of the features of this responsive design. First, if I take the browser and open it up, we are going to lock the design down to 980 pixels so that the design will get centered in the available space on the large screen. And you know, as you can see on your screens, when I am moving this design browser up and down, that means if I am reducing it down, you can see the overall layout is getting fluid. And when I reach to certain breakpoints, for example, like this is a under 800 pixels design, and this is the maximum width we have fixed to 980 pixels. Here you can see on this breakpoint, our layout get changed, and our logo got little smaller compared to this large design. Here the header and logo is in a large size, but in the smaller one, in the medium size, we have a smaller logo and a smaller header. And the below, like you see, article section and our promo section. Here also we see a little change in the design. In the large screen, we have images and then content just right to the images. But in our medium screen size, we have images, then our content getting shifted to the downside. Now, if I further reduce it down to the mobile screen size, that is under 500 pixels, we have seen that the layout get completely entirely changed. Here you can see we have a very small header and logo, and on top we see it has mentioned like the article section, and below the article section we see promo. The design of the promo gets changed, and below that on top we don't have navigation bar out here because of the mobile best practices. We should always show our content first than our navigation and other links. So here we have shown our navigation links like about services, portfolios, and contacts. So this is basically the overall demonstration I have given, and we will be making this project live right now. During this webinar, in a complete webinar, we will be going to examine Sketch. You can see here on right here on the screen, which will give us our content strategy. So this is basically our content strategy. So before you start making any responsive website, first of all, it is very important to define your content strategy. For example, in my content strategy of this demonstration, I have taken up 3 different sizes: large screen, and for medium screen, for tablet devices, and for the small screen, sorry, for like mobile devices and all. So in large screen, you see we have a larger header, as you just saw that on my demonstration. We have a navigational area, and we have an article section, and then we have a promo section. And in the promo section, we have image and then content, image and content, all in a column format. In our medium screen, we have a little smaller header and logo area, then navigational link, and then below that we have article section, and below that we have a promo area. So in this case, we also using promo in column format, but here we have changed the layout. For example, here we're showing the images, and then below the images we're showing content. And we're showing our copyright information at the footer like this on the larger screen and on the medium screen right here. And you see in the smaller screen, we are using our content strategy like to have a very small header and logo size so that all the content should be properly visible on mobile viewports. And then we have our article section, article area, and then below that we have our promos. So here you notice that in this small screen case, we actually have shown our promos in form of rows instead of columns. So here you see we have images and then content right out after the images, and below that we have our navigational links. So basically we will cover up all these things in our practical demonstration. So in this webinar we will also see how we can use media queries to offer responsive delivery. There are 2 different things, like one is responsive design, how we can see it, and one is responsive delivery. So that means we can actually send less data to people on a small and medium screen than on large screens. And to illustrate that point, I want to come back again to my Google Chrome. And here I would like to open up my inspection tool. And to see the network resources, I need to go into the network. And I need to reload this page again. Yeah, let's go. So here you see there are a lot of requests are getting downloaded, a lot of data getting downloaded, and here especially you see we have this one, logo large and banner large. Those 2 media files, one is PNG logo large and another is banner large.jpg. Those files are getting downloaded for this larger screen size. And if I sum up the complete size of all the requests, all the 12 requests, then you will see the total size would be 180 kilobytes. And if I reduce it further down to under 800 pixels, that is for tablet devices, here you see we have a small logo, so I need to reload this page again so that network requests get refreshed. Yeah. So here you see now we don't have the large images. We only have the medium images. I actually given the name to my images. I already created a multiple copies of images and I have given the name accordingly. I will show you all those images right after this when we start our building our project. So basically in this case you see the total size of all the content, all the requests comes out as a 73 kilobytes. If you sum up all, the size would be 73 kilobytes. Here you see we have 11 requests. We have obsoleted one request. That request was for downloading this background image. So we have obsoleted that and the total request will come out as a 11. So to demonstrate that, I need to refresh the browser again in a small for mobile devices. So let me refresh it so the network request get refreshed. Yeah. So here you see now we have a very small banner. So our image get changed to banner small and our logo get changed to logo small.png. And if we sum up the size, all the size of all these requests, then it will come out as a 32 kilobytes of data. So interestingly, you have seen that how responsive delivery is working out here in the demonstration. So in this case, you see we have large screen. On the large screen, we have 180 kilobytes of data, and medium screen, we have downloaded 73 kilobytes of data. And on the other hand, on the small screen under 500 pixels for mobile devices, we have downloaded 36 kilobytes of data. So we are looking at approximately 83% less data when somebody looks at the exact same user experience on small screen devices versus a large screen device. So I hope this webinar sounds interesting to you, and if so, let's get it started further. So, friends, before directly moving into building our project, so further, I would like to first give you a brief idea of what is responsive design and some basic terminology, some basic concepts about it, so that the audience which are very new to responsive design can also understand in a much better way. Yeah. So basically, in my deck, I would like to show, first of all, I would like to tell you very quickly, like what is responsive design. So like as you, I will give you some practical examples out there. So as you can all understand, one of the biggest challenge faced by any web developers, any dev designers, and like any product managers is a lack of control that they have over their medium. For example, in this design, I have taken like print design as an example. If I am designing this magazine layout, I will need to deal with variables such as paper stocks and what type of press it is printed on and which ink I will be using. While these choices may influence my design decision, but I am still designing for fixed dimensions. I am largely in control of the entire process, and the pupils that consume this content will experience it in exactly the same way. Like for example, if you read some magazine or some book, you experience it in the same way as your friend is experiencing. Even there is 1,000 copies of books and 1,000 pupils are reading that book. So all those people will experiencing it in the same way. They will have the same size of images, same size of typographic content, and same layout, same number of pages, everything, overall experience would be entirely same. So now contrast that with web design. When I create content for the web, I have to deal with an almost like overwhelming set of variables in how that content will be consumed. Like for example, I have to consider wide variety of browsers and operating systems that people might be using, and whether my content is accessible to screen reader or other accessibility enabled devices. And I also need to consider how my content will look if and when it's printed, or whether they are attempting to access my content on any of the growing number of devices which have the web capabilities enabled and which don't really resemble the traditional screen and browser's configuration. So like these days, of course, the change that's been getting the most attention recently is this mobile. The recent exploration of client accessing the web on mobile devices has made designing for mobile screen a mandatory requirement, not even as an additional consideration. And in today's scenario, like you're very familiar with what's going on in a technology field, the screen sizes are not only getting smaller, they are even getting bigger as well. So that's where responsive design comes in. Responsive design is basically a design strategy that is centered on designing on your content so that it responds to the environment it's encountered. The environment might be like your tablet devices, environment might be your small mobile device, the environment could be like a big, large screen of HD quality. And there are a lot and other like of environment. And there are three fundamental techniques for responsive design. The first one is fluid grid, like for flexible layouts, media queries to help you adapt content to specific screen sizes, and flexible images and media that respond to change in screen sizes as well. So I will demonstrate, I will give you a practical exposure on all these terms when we will be coding, when we will be doing the HTML and CSS, then you will get a practical understanding of how we can use the media queries and how we can use flexible images. So all those things will be covered up in our practical demonstration. And first of all, it is very important to understand what makes site responsive. As you know, with all the web design, a responsive design also starts with HTML. This one, yeah. So a clean, well-structured HTML helps create content that is meaningful and easier to manipulate based on context. You know, HTML5 also includes a few features that help sites be more functional across multiple devices. And as you would imagine, CSS plays a major role in creating responsive design. That's why I have actually made it give a center attention to it. And CSS media queries allow us to apply different set of styles based on factors such as like screen sizes, orientation, or resolution. But this allows us to change layout and typography to a design that's more suited to the context in which it's viewed. And responsive designs are typically fluid in nature so that they can flex to fit the screen on which they are viewed. Just like I given the example in the demonstration, when I'm reducing the screen size, the design becomes fluid and it responds and it adapts to my breakpoints also. And the third thing, you need to understand JavaScript. JavaScript is also used in like varying degree of different responsive design, and is primarily used to control resource loading, supplying the correct images and media based on the need of different devices. And to that, add device functionality, like device-specific functionality can be geolocation, and it can also be touch events to the site. And essentially, these three technologies, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, form the backbone of most of the responsive design. Yes, we have right viewing right here. So now let's get into some action and build a responsive design. Now, friends, basically now throughout this webinar, we are going to be coding our HTML and CSS. So I recommend using a text editor, whichever text editor you would like to use. And there are like whole lot of series of available text editor for both like Mac and Windows and for Linux, and some are paid and some are free. So like here I have mentioned some list of text editor which is actually very popular and can be available on both the platform like Notepad++, PSPad, and Coda and TextMate kind of. And so it's up to you, like whichever text editor you would like to use for responsive design. You can also use all the designers and developers love to use Dreamweaver. So you can also use Dreamweaver, and you can also use a fully integrated development environment like Visual Studio or NetBeans or any other fully integrated development environment. So it's all up to you, whichever environment or whichever editor you would like to use. So in my case, I would be using Visual Studio. So here, let's start our project. So first of all, let us set up our project file. So first of all, I have created one directory under techgig.com website, and here we can create a new directory called my website. So this will be our project for creating a responsive website, and under this, let's create one more folder called CSS, and under this, let's create one more folder called images. And to actually save our time, I have created some files so that we can just quickly paste it up. And all these files are actually blank files. We need to actually write the code into the file, but it will give us a quick idea like what names we should be using and what the basic structure and layout. so we don't have to waste some time. So images. Now let's add images. I have also separately created images on different folders. So now in your case, you can slice up all the images and you can use as per your whatever designs you are making up. So okay, let me give you what all images we are using. We are using this gradient image. Right here you can see on our large screen, we have one gradient image out there on the background. And then we have this banner large. Then we have this banner medium. Then we have this banner small. Then we have one, we will be also be using one sprite method for changing our images on hover. So here we will be using like CTA arrow as an image, and then our large logo. Then we have our medium logo, and after that we have our small logo and one is small mobile link, and these are the promo images, these three promo images. So that's all the images we have to use in our project. So let's start building our application. So here, first of all, let me open the directory where we have created this under my website. Let me copy this and open it up. Yeah, open. Yeah, now it's opening up. Yeah. Oops, come close. Yeah, it's opening up. So in the meanwhile, it will open up. So we will be actually doing some coding onto that. First of all, basically what we will be doing, we will be first set up our entire project, and then we will prepare our HTML files. Oops, something wrong happened with this. Let me open it again. So basically, first of all, like we will set up our entire project, and then we will do some, first of all, we will define all the containers. So where my solution explorer? Yeah. So here you can see, now we have images directory, we have CSS, and all these CSS and image are basically blank. You can see all these files are just blank. They have just a quick header information and nothing else. Let's open our index.html file, and let's first prepare our HTML file. So first of all, let's add the main container, our HTML container on the file. So we have this sample file here, the document definition goes here. We have HTML, we have head, and then we have body section defined. Yeah, now everybody can see it properly. Yeah. Yeah. So under the body section, let me write containers, all the containers, so that I can write all the code inside that. So in a container, first of all, let's define a div. Let's give a class name equal to page. So this will be our main container of the entire, for all the screen sizes, and this will give a basic structure to overall page layout. And let's define a header. So this is a HTML5 element I am using in this, and this is article. This is again a HTML5 element I am using right here. And now let's define another div, and let's give a name promo. So as you see, our content strategy, we have actually taken up article, header section, and promo. So here basically we will be defining all the promos into this container. So this is a container which will be holding all the promos. And then next, let's define each of the promos. So above it has a promo container, and under the promo container, let's use one class and name it as promo. And then let's close it up. We will add up content later on this promo. So now let's copy this. We need to actually create 2 more promos. So let's add 1 more, and then let's add 1 more. So we have 3 promo contain. We have 1 container which containing 3 promos, and we will be adding content to it later. And now after this promo container, just add 1 navigation nav. This is again a HTML5 element, and after that let's use a footer. Yeah, so this is again a HTML5 element I'm using right here. So yeah, so now our basic HTML container is done, and now let's add some copyright information to it on the footer side. Let's add ampersand COPY colon, and let's give it your organization name. Your organization name. Yeah. Yeah. Let me save it up. Yeah. And now let's also add one link to my header area, and our logo will be come up on this. We will define the classes and give the styling to it later. Let's define a class called logo, and let's give href equal to self, that is hash. Yeah. Right. Now let's add some content to all these sections. So to do this, I have already created a snippet for all those so that we can save up our time. Let's copy this and paste it in article section. Yeah, let's do the formatting. And then under the promo area, let's copy this, promo 1. Let me do a little formatting. And then after that in promo 2, let me copy it again, promo 2. Yeah, let me copy it right here. Let's do a little formatting. And then let's again copy promo 3. Yeah. Yeah. So now we have all the containers ready, all the sample content we have already linked. And now let's link a CSS file for all these screens. As you see, we have 3 different, sorry, this is opening up. Yeah, let me show you up how many screens CSS we having. So we having this 4 CSS. So we will be using 4 CSS. One CSS like screen underscore style. This will be the core CSS, and layout large is this CSS that we'll be using for large screen. This is for medium screen, and this is for small screen. So just go right here. Can I shift this up so that it will be easy? Yeah. Yeah. Now let's add a link tag. Let's define a relationship is equal to style sheet, and here I need to define a style sheet. Yep. And after that, let's define a type equals to text / CSS, and after that, let's define its source of href from where it needs to be picked. So we have placed all our CSS file under CSS, and this is our core CSS file. Let's copy the name out directly from here so that we will not do any mistakes in typography. Yep. Now let's make another link. Relationship is equal to style sheet, and let's define a type. Again, a text / CSS. Yep. And then href equal to CSS / now right now we're defining CSS for our large layout, and this will also work for all those browsers which does not support media queries. So here basically now I would like to write the syntax for media query. Now we will be importing our next file on medium and small screen sizes with the help of media queries, and all the rule inside the CSS file will apply only if those sizes will come in picture. So for example, we need to define like this, rel equal to style sheet, and after that I need to define same type equal to text / CSS. Where my cursor goes, yeah. So now I need to define for writing media query out here to call the file a CSS file based on a context. So I need to write media. I need to define it is for only screen, and my minimum width, min-width should be 50 pixels, and again parenthesis, minimum width should be 50 pixels and maximum width should be 500 pixels. So this will be basically for our mobile devices which are under 500 pixels. and let's define href is equal to, we have placed in the CSS slash, let's copy the name from right here. 1 second, let me shift this. How can I shift this? Yeah, now it's better. Yeah, so let's copy this small screen size, this one. Let's copy the file name and place it out here. Yeah, yeah. So now let's copy entire thing and let's paste it out here. So now we have, so this basically tells browsers if the media is a screen and the width of the browser is 50 pixels minimum and maximum is 500 pixels. So let's use all the rules which is defined under layout underscore small.css. And now let's create another rule which will be calling my media queries 501 pixels, and it will go up to maximum width of 800 pixels. And in this case, let's use medium.css. So now we have defined all the 4 CSS, now we also, like, with the best practices of doing the responsive design, and if you are using any kind of HTML5 element, so it's always better to define as Google Code Ship files so that browser which are under I9 can also use this. So to define this, we need to use this snippet. Let's write it out here. So basically what this snippet will do, if the browser is Internet Explorer and the version is below 9, that is 7 and 8, then the Internet Explorer 7 or 8 will use this JavaScript file. And the main role of this JavaScript file is to tell I7 or I8 to how to render these HTML5 elements. So if you're using those HTML5 elements, so it's always a best practice to use this HTML shift file from Google Code Codes, right? And after this, let's also define viewport. So basically, like if we talk about viewport, now one of the great thing about mobile web browser is they have the ability to take a full size web, like you see right here in this scale viewport, and scale them down so that they can fit on a very small screen size. So you can see like it is completely like scaled down to fit into the size of the viewport. And when we, right now it's on a portrait mode, when we make it in a landscape mode, then it again changes size. But it will get entirely fixed with the screen context. So this gives users the ability to pinch and zoom onto the content in order to read it. For example, like if you want to read this small site, what you have to do, you just have to zoom it out, and then you can just expand it and can read the content. But that's for me, it's a very tedious process. And basically, the idea behind responsive design is to take the same content and rearrange the layout so that they don't have to pinch and zoom. And the layout actually fits to the screen size. Now, in order to do this, we need to add a line of HTML code to tell the browsers what to do with the viewport on page load. So back to our HTML file, and so let me go again to my text editor. And here, let's find meta. Yes, it's right here on the top. So in the meta, I need to define one more meta, and I need to name this meta as viewport, so that on the load, we will tell how the content needs to be rendered. So here we need to define content, and here we also need to define like width is equal to device width. So use device maximum width and maximum scale equals to 1.0. And let's also define minimum scale as 1.0. Then again, let's define initial scale to 1. Yeah. So yes. So now we have defined our viewports. So now so that the browser can understand how to load this, right? how to render this our HTML file. So now we have defined the clear structure of our HTML. We have also defined our style sheets. So now this is the time to actually see what actually we have done. So let's go to my website. Let's open it up in the browser. So you see, like right now we have a clean and well-structured HTML file. Now, so this is the time to create some CSS rules, and let's add some background pattern and page container onto it. So to do with this, let's open our text editor and let's go to our base CSS file, screenstyles.css. And in this file, we will define some base CSS styles that will be using throughout in like all the screen sizes. So here in the screenstyles.css, let's define body element. And under the body element, let's define its color as #575 C7A semicolon. Yeah. Here C575 C7A. Yeah. And now let's define its line height as 1.5 EMs. And then define font family as Arial. And then define base font size as 14 pixels. And let's define our background. So here I'm using a writing short structure of defining color first, 515673, and let me also define what would be the image URL, which we have placed our images under images directory. Then we need to define background underscore gradient dot JPEG. Yeah. Let's also define. Let's repeat it in horizontal direction, and let's pick 0 pixels and 0 pixels as its position. And now let's define, as you know, in this index.html5, we have defined our div class page. So let's use this class and let's give the structure to the page. Let's give this maximum width to 980 pixels. Now next, so that the page will get fixed to 980 pixels, and when we actually increase the size, the page will get centered on the screen. And let's also define its margin as 0 pixels and auto. And then let's define its position relative, so that all the content inside the page will get related to this element. And then also need to define background color as white, because we are using our gradient in a dark color, so it should be color which is appealing. Yeah, white. So let's move to the browser, refresh it again. Yeah. So here right now you can see now we have a gradient image on the background. Now we have defined the some styles out right here. So now so we have added the background. So now let's define the style heading. And let's give some body text and links and styling to the footer area also. So now let's get back to the code again. So now instead of writing all codes, we can, I've already copied the code. We can use that as you know, we always very good with copy and pasting things. So let's do that. And here in my screen style, I've copied all the snippet out here. So here, let's copy all the header tags and let's paste it up. So here you can see we have defined a color to the heading section, margin as 0, 0.5 this, and we have defined the font size as 2 EM. Actually we have used here in our body section font size 14 pixels. So this will behave as a base font size for all of our layout, and here EM will define in H1 tag, it will take twice of the size what we define in the base font size. So, and H2 you will see we have defined it at 1.7 EM, that is 70% of the base font size, and we have defined H3 in 1.5, that is the 50% of the base font size. So this will larger than 50% of the base font size. Now let's save it up. Let's see what change will happen. Yes, now we have defined the color, we have defined the sizes, and Then now let's move back to our snippet file and just copy this anchor text file and paragraph file. And when I copy this paragraph file, here you see now our paragraph will get more structured, right? So right now you see as I define the maximum width. So right now the design, overall design gets fixed to a maximum width of 980 pixels. If I move the screen further above than 980 pixels, then my design will get centered on 980 pixels. So now next we have defining already defined this style to body and foot, and now let's move to this, and now let's do some styling at the footer. And so here we have defined as 0.85 EMs font size and color. So it is very important to define the font sizes and all in the EM size, because when to do the fluid grid, because when we do the fluid grid, so the design will take browser and any other context will take your design in a relative manner as compared to your base font size. So for example, then yeah. So let's go to design. Let's see. Yeah. Now our footer is also get little style. Yeah. So now it's time to give the styles to our promo section. The section which we have seen in a content strategy, which will come out here along with images and all those stuff. So let's copy our promos. So first of all, let's define the heading of the promo and like its paragraph. Then you see we have actually corrected our promo. Then let's move next and define the images to the promo. To define the images, let me go back to my index.html, and yeah, here is my promo container and here is my first promo. So here I will also define as one, I will also define the one class named 1, name 2, so that I can put the right images as per the 1, 2, and 3 section. 3, yeah. So now let's copy my promo style and just paste my promo style to here. So that it will populate the background image as this. And let's copy this for other two, and let's change the name of the class to 2. And let's change this numeric value to 2, and let's change this to 3. And again, let's move to the third promo and define it as promo 3. Now, when I refresh it, you will see the images are images are there, but it's repeating up. So let me stop repeating of this image by using background as no repeat. So let me put out this here. So this will tell the browser to should not repeat the image. So now we have all the 3 promos out there along with the heading. So now we need to do little styling with our thing for large screen. So this is basically the base structure and base styling we have given it. Now basically this is time to give the styling for the large screen sizes. So now let's move to our next large screen layout. Let's copy the body, header, and navigational area. Let's paste it up here in the large screen. Yeah, here we can paste it up. I forgot to copy this. What's happened? I forgot to copy body. Yeah. Yeah. So now you can see we have defined margin as 0 and padding as 0. And so here you can see now we don't have any margins when we do the reduce the size. All get fixed properly, right? So now let's again move to our class and let's define some logo images out there in the header area. So here what I did, I have given the height to the header and a background image as large, and I mentioned that no repeat, right, and 0 pixels. I've given the positioning, and then on the header side we also have a logo. I've given the positioning to the logo and the size of the logo. So here let me make it to the large screen. Just refresh it out. Now you can see now we have a large header and large logo, and all of our content are out there. Now, next, do little formatting of the article section. The article section, like you see here, let's do little formatting out with this article section for our larger screen. So you see here I've defined padding like 60 from top, 60 from like top, and this is from right side, and 10 pixels from bottom, and 20 pixels from left. When I refresh it up, you can see there is a space out there on the top, and we can use this for showing up our navigation bar, which is somewhere right down, which is not visible right now. So now let's move and define our navigation. So just right after this, let's define our navigation area. So to define the navigation area, I actually need to go to my base CSS class and need to define these properties. And yeah, right here. So here I have defined my text transformation as uppercase and text decoration as none. And I have used inline block so that it will look like in the block section. And font size I've used font with 0.9 EN. And then I'm using on hover a color as hash this 3Fs. So when I refresh this up, and this goes, yeah, let me save this up. We go to this size. Let me go to my large screen again. Let me copy my navigational area. Yeah, I've already copied that. Let's remove that. Yeah, so let's go to this. And what's wrong with that? There's something wrong with this. Yeah, actually we forget to define links under the navigational area. That's why the links is not actually visible. So let's define it. Anchor href is equal to self target, and let's define 4 links as about us, and then let's define our second link as services. Let's define third link as portfolio, and then last could be, let's say, contact us. Yeah. Yeah. So we have defined the navigational link. So now let's see. Now we have a navigation bar right here. So all the styling we have defined in a CSS file. You see, like the navigation and hover structure, everything we have defined. So this is coming up. And now let's do the little bit correction on the designing on the promo heading area and the promo image area. So now again, let's move back to our screen layout large size. And on this large size, let's copy our container, promo, and the content area to give the some better look and feel and styling of our large screen container size. So let's copy this. So here what I did, I created a promo container, the base class, which you can see right here, that one, the main class which contains all the promos. So promo container, I have defined some padding like 0 from top, 0 from right, and 0 from bottom, and 20 from left. And then I also defined under the promo container, there are 3 promos defined. I have given the width and float, and then it's given its background position. And then in the promo container, we have under promo we have content. So I have defined some little bit of padding out here for my content area. So now let's refresh it. Yeah. So here we can see now we have a proper styling for our this promo section, promo area. Now it's getting a little distorted. So let's move back to the design. Let's move to index.html, and under the promo container, I think we need to define one div. We need to give one class called clear fix. Let's close this div, and then let's move to our large layout screen size. We can define this in our main screen style, the core screen style size. And let's give this class clear from both. And then let's also give some line height to it. Let's give it 1 pixel. Yeah. Yeah. So now we all done with our large screen size. So it's all done. Now you can see large screen size is all positioned and it's getting fixed on our, when we centralize on the width, when we move up from the 980 pixels. Yeah. Yeah. So here I would like to mention you one very important feature of responsive design, to use media queries inside the inside your CSS to do the positioning of your content. For example, you see right here when I move my screen, when I reduce my screen size, right? You see here your organization name. This is getting just close to, very close to this edge of the browser. When I move up, it's fine. But when it's under 980 pixels, it gets just shifted to the edge of the browser. So here basically I need to write a media query which will instruct browser if the screen size is below 980 pixels, but then you should actually use one little bit padding out here. So let's go out here in our large screen layout and let's define a media query, media. To write media query, you need to start with @media and then let's define screen. And so it is for media screen, and then we need to define our maximum width, VIDH, yeah, as 990 pixels. Yeah. Then close it up and let's define as footer. We need to give padding to footer area so that it can actually look nice when somebody actually reduces the browser width. Then do some padding from left side. Let's say give 20 pixels padding. Yeah. Padding from left. Yeah. So now refresh this. Now you have noticed that when I am reducing the size of the browser, now my organization name is not getting close to, not touching the edges of my browser. Now it's looking neat and clean, right? So this is the way you can also use media queries to define your custom style. So it's all up to you basically, whatever you would like to use media query. For example, for certain conditions, a screen size and a breakpoint I have defined this. So it's all up to you based on your requirement how you would like to use the media query. But it will be a very good way to use these media queries as actually for defining the adaptiveness in your designs. So I think we all done with this our large screen size, and now we can move to our another one, medium screen sizes, and let's do some style out here on the medium screen sizes. Okay, let's also do a little bit we have some anchor tag here. So let's define this in proper manner. 1 second, let me go to my large screen and then let me copy something. Yeah.
Mr. Chopra.
Yeah. So you see, we have created. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Chopra.
Yes,
sorry to interrupt. We have around 5 minutes left before we wrap up today's session, and we are getting a lot of questions. So just wanted to quickly remind you of the timing so that you can take up at least a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure. So it will. We will be taking more, just 5 or 10 minutes more to actually wrapping up. We are just actually doing the final version of the things. So in the medium, for the medium screen sizes, we also need to do a little bit fixes on our anchor link. So here you can see HREA, we need to define one class called CTA. So this will be the compound rule, CTA. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you can see now our header links are actually visible. Promos links are visible. Now let's go to our medium screen size, and on the medium screen size, I've already copied this link as we're running out of our time. So let's copy all at once and let's paste it out, and I will quickly explain you what it is. We are using a background image here as medium, and there is no repeat, and we give the positioning, and in the header logo size, we are using a logo medium out here. We define some structure to the navigation bar so that it can adjust and fit to the screen. And under the promo areas, we are defining some style. And so that the like the screen should not download the background images. Like we see, we have this background images right here. But we don't want browsers to download the medium size or tablet devices should download this background image. So let's use background image none. So it will not tell browser to not download the image, and we will save with one request and can optimize our responsive site. So let's reduce this down and see. Now our design is getting adaptive to tablet devices, and which is under 800 pixels. And let's see the promo headings right here are also getting changed. Here images, and down here is the heading. So in the same way, let's go to our small screen. So after this webinar, I will actually place all my exercise files on GitHub. So I will upload all this files, so it will be very easy for you to actually refer this file later, or you can do your experimentation on this file, and you can understand and can learn things in a better way. So like, let's copy all the CSS from my small screen size. So in the CSS, let me quickly explain you what actually we have did. In the header area, again, we have defined a small background, so that with the help of media queries, which we'll define on our index.html file, we can actually get all the render the banner small instead of a large or medium. In the logo size, we have defined to use logo small. In the article section, we did a little bit padding so that the article section will look nice. In the navigation section, we did some changes. We gave some stat. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me remove this navigation area for a while so that you can understand it in a much better way. And I will tell you why we actually use this navigation area. And then on a promo container, we have defined some padding, and then the promo images, then footer, and also we have defined here body background images as none. So now let's go to the design again, and let's reduce the size. Yeah. So right here you can see now our design gets changed. Right. We need to define the styles for our footer area and the navigation area. So let's define the size for navigation. So in the navigation area, like you see, this about the services and portfolios. Here we have defined the display as block so that it will look better as a button, like kind of button on the mobile devices. And let's change its like position to static so that the position which we have defined earlier will not get applied as absolute, and it will change and go below the content. And then we have background and border, and then we have used this image, mobile link arrow. When I refresh this up, you have noticed that now our navigation area has moved down below the content. There you can see I have defined this hover style as background color. Here you can notice that I have defined as RGBA. Here RGB will for color, and this is for alpha. So this will define the transparency. I defined it 0.15 alpha, that is 85% transparent. So here you can see now for a smaller screen, I am using small logo, welcome, article section, and then promo area of images, and my content goes just right to the my promo images. Then in the main advantage of using hover right here, because you can you must be wondering, like on a mobile or tablet devices, we cannot have a hover functionality. So what the use of using this, doing this hover? So but whatever happen when somebody tap the devices, tap something on the devices, then they will experience this hover behavior, and they will they can actually able to understand, okay, something they have clicked on. So that's the basically like all the final design which we actually created up, the final demonstration for our large screen, for medium screen, and for the small screen sizes. So so I think that's all from my end. I will also give a quick round of explanation demonstration again. So this way, then we have actually created a full-fledged responsive website in just 1 hour. So so friends, finally, like I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar, and I hope that now you have clearer overall picture of what responsive design is and how adopting a responsive design will affect your overall workflow. So before I finish, I want to leave you with a few of the responsive design focused blogs and sites that I read on a regular basis, and reading these can help you dive deeper into the responsive design and perhaps more importantly keep an eye on how it evolves. So first I would like to recommend, let me open up my browser. So first of all, I would like to recommend unstoppablerobot.ninja. Yes, the name is actually sounding a little funny, but this is the online blog of Ethan Marcotte. Ethan Marcotte is the author of responsive design, and in many ways he is considered to be the first person to articulate the concept of responsive design. And I also recommend Luki.com. Basically, this is the website by Luik. Luik is the author of Mobile First and one of the leading proponent of mobile-friendly devices. Design. And you can also look at this bradfirstweb.com. Basically, Brad writes articles and tutorials that focus especially on responsive design and is one of the leading voices on designing across multiple contexts. And of course, I also recommend you checking out all of the web and mobile design and development webinar on Techgig.com. So that's all for now. So feel free to drop me a line on my Twitter or connect me on LinkedIn. So thanks again for attending this webinar, and I will see you in my next Techgig webinar. So now we have opened up this for like your questions, comment, or if you want to share your learning. So we are open to that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chopra, for giving this presentation along with the demo. I've already assigned you a couple of questions. So maybe looking at the time, since we have already run out of our scheduled time today, maybe if you could take the first 7 or 8 questions, and the rest of the questions you can take up offline.
Sure. So let me take up right, so let me first find out, okay, I got from where I need to look into the questions. I was actually looking at it. Yeah, how interestingly, there are a lot of questions. Yeah, so like the first is like what is fluid layout. So basically you have seen in my demonstration, I have given this example. So right now, are everybody able to see my screen? I think everybody.
Yes, I believe so.
So you see the layout fluid. Yeah, sure. So in the fluid grid, you see when I moving this down and moving this up, that means I'm reducing the browser and expanding my browser. Then the overall content, images, typography, and everything getting changed as per the context and as per the screen size. Everything is changing. So that is basically fluid grid. So I need to take the next question. So this is basically a fluid grid layout, Santosh. And so next question, how should I design a form independent of the screen resolution? No use of media queries. So how should I design a form independent of the screen resolution? No use of media queries. So basically, like Mr. Ray, media queries, we use media queries to actually adapt our size, our design and we need to define certain breakpoints. For example, in this demonstration, we have defined a breakpoint from 50 to sorry, 500 pixels, and from 500 pixels to 800 pixels. So there, we just need to use the media query to actually tell the browser to use the new CSS rules. So, like you can also use some few HTML5 elements, and that have the inbuilt functionality of the media queries. So that way basically you can use and design a form. You can use the HTML5 form element that get automatically adjusted with your screen sizer. So in that case, you can obsolete media query, and you can focus on creating the through HTML5 using some certain thing. But to adapt your size, you actually need to use media queries. So actually there is a difference between the fluid grid designs and the adaptive design. So if you like to make your design adaptive, you actually need a little bit of media queries, so that's for sure. Now, is it possible to make responsive design if we have table in HTML code? So basically, Vipul, in this case, you can see as a now the internet best practices is saying you should use div layouts for designing your website, which is not only which actually for best practice you should also design it in a div layout because it's lighter weight compared to table layout, and like in a web everything is possible, and responsive design is evolving. Actually concepts, it's evolving up. So but there is certain actually tricks behind it. So it's always better to actually use div. So instead of using the table layout to following the design strategy, if you are using the design strategy, you should actually consider designing it in a div structure. So now next, let's take another question. I think most of the question is already covered up, so let me take up something which we have not addressing out there. Link of sure. So here basically Mr. Krishnamurthy, you have mentioned, like, can we get a link of HTML5 Shiv on Google to make responsive site work below I9? Here please. Yes, definitely. So just right after this session, what I will do, I will place all of my exercise files in GitHub, and I will place the link out here so that you can all download each and every bit of code from my exercise file, and you can try exercising by your own. So in that way you will also get this HTML shape reference. And let me take again. So Rohit is asking, hi, you told about the condition testing i9 or lesser version. If I am hosting an application in intranet, no internet, the Google code will not be available for supporting lesser version, right? So what is the other hand to support the other version? Need to know what the code basically does. So basically, Rohit, in that case, what you can do, that is a simple JavaScript file. So you can just download that JavaScript file in your local intranet environment wherever you are hosting. So just copy that file in your local directory, local intranet environment, and just give the reference from your local directory, like you give reference to your other JavaScript file and CSS file. In the same way, you can just download the JS file and you can give the reference, local reference. So what to use, pixels or EM and responsive layout for font size? So Ravindra asked this question. So basically, like for font sizes, it's always you should use EMs, because EMs is actually you can mold your font size as per the context. So basically, in this case, the EM takes the calculation of the font based on your main core base font size. So basically, the base font size of generally the internet application is 16 pixels. So in my case, I have taken up 14 pixels. So it's always better to design responsive in EM format instead of using font size in pixels. So what Raj Kishore is asking, what the role of initial scale for viewport, does it always carry value 1? So like Raj Kishore. So Mr. Raj Kishore, as I mentioned in my PPT also, let me again open that up. Yeah. So here, oops, where it goes. Yeah. So here basically you can see if you don't define the initial scale, then your website will, on the mobile devices, the browser will take it as a scaled viewport mode. So your design will get scaled to the design. It will not actually, so to design the design in a non-scaled mode, you actually need to use the initial versioning and give it to 1.0. So let me take another question. Should not screen layout large.css. So Nirbhaya asked one question. Should not screen layout large.css be put inside a media query too, as this CSS will be fetched by default every time a request is armed when from mobile? Hence, will it be no override text style of screen layout small CSS? So basically, Nirbhaya, Mr. Jha, the main reason for actually not actually calling up through CSS, this is screen layout large, because what happens sometimes browser does not support, some of the browser does not support this media queries. There are some browsers, some old browsers, you don't know like which kind of devices, which kind of browsers users are using. There are like hundreds and thousands of devices available these days, different resolution, different aspect ratio. So like as best practice, we should also always give this in this form to define our styling in one format, so that your application will get smoothly rendered. So this is basically like a preventive way. So I think Satish, I have already answered the question in my earlier. Is this necessary?
Mr. Chopra?
CSS code. Yes. Yes, please.
Yeah. You can take up one last question.
Okay. Sure. Let me take one more question as we're running out of time. So let's take up. Is it fine to use bootstrap or responsive layout? Yes, I think this thing we have not covered in this thing, and this is the question asked by Ashish. Very nice. So yes, Ashish, definitely we can use bootstrap or any other available open source responsive layout, and this will give you a faster way to actually design your responsive site instead of designing it from scratch. So you can use any of the bootstrap, Angular, or any kind of open source platform framework for designing a responsive website. But one thing need to be considered here, basically while designing or while choosing any framework, you actually need to consider your own requirement. What is the solution requirement? For example, Bootstrap, sometimes Bootstrap, they have a large file. Yeah, although you can customize it very well, all the open source stuff, all the open source framework, you can customize it well. So yes, it is a very good idea actually to use Bootstrap for designing your responsive strategy. Yeah, so I think we have covered up the last question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chopra. And as I said, we do have at least 15 or 20 more questions which remain unanswered, but I request all the attendees to share their questions either with us or they can email the questions to you directly. Also, the recording version of today's webinar will be available on techgig.com by Monday afternoon. So those who came online later can also log on to www.techgig.com and find the recording there on Monday afternoon. Thank you so much, Mr. Chopra, once again for taking time out today and giving this insightful presentation.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you so much for listening so patiently. Thanks a lot.